First up, a special guest joining us. Tamar Schwarzbard is head of digital operations of the Israeli Foreign Ministry. Tamar, thanks a lot for speaking to CNN News 18. It's been a week, a harrowing week for Israelis, more than a week, and you're preparing for what seems like a ground invasion. There are questions being piled on the government response in Israel after what happened on the Saturday that we all witnessed. But I do want to understand from you, what is the message that the Israeli government wants to give to the world that is worried about the civilian casualties in Gaza because of this counteroffensive?
So first of all, Shivani, thank you so much for having me here today. I think from our perspective, it is important for us that every single person around the world knows what's going on here in Israel. I cannot even describe to you the images that I have seen over the past week. They are things that I never in my worst nightmares thought that I would be seeing. Children burned alive, women raped, babies murdered in their beds, in their homes, families executed. And I think right now our goal is to return the security to the citizens of Israel who for the past week have been living their worst nightmare.
Israel, of course, has been telling people in Gaza to evacuate. But, there are concerns that there is nowhere for them to go. In this situation, what are the assurances that the Israeli government is willing to undertake and give to the world that while they have support for this counteroffensive, they will avoid mass civilian casualties? That's the question that the world is asking.
So it's an important question, and I understand the importance of the question. I have to say that we as Israelis will do everything in our power to keep civilians safe. You have to realize that the people of Gaza are being held hostage by a terrorist organization that is no different than ISIS. And we have been telling innocent civilians for days to please evacuate from northern Gaza to southern Gaza. We've been sending hundreds of leaflets from the air telling civilians in Gaza that our fight is not with them, it's with the terrorist individuals who are holding them hostage. And every single civilian in Gaza who is hurt, that is at the hands of Hamas, who is intentionally preventing individuals from fleeing the Gaza Strip. I think it is so sick and twisted that Hamas and the individuals who are responsible for the welfare of Gazan people are trying to hold them hostage and prevent them from leaving so that there are more and more civilian casualties. Of course, we will do everything in our power to protect civilians because that is our job. That is something that is extremely important to us. But every single civilian who is injured, that is at the hands of Hamas, and they are going to be held responsible.
Do you think Israel and other global powers, for example, the US, is going to be successful in opening some sort of a corridor, not just for aid, but also for civilians to move out of Palestine?
Look, I don't want to comment on the corridor. All I can say is we will work with our allies around the world to make sure that we are able to take every single precaution, available to us to keep innocent civilians in Gaza safe. But as I said before, Hamas is responsible for this atrocity. Hamas is responsible for sending over 800 blood-hungry individuals into homes of Israelis and butchering little children alive in their beds. I feel terrible for the Palestinian people in Gaza who need to suffer at the hands of Hamas, but that is Hamas's responsibility and they will be held responsible. And you mentioned the United States. I just want to say, as an Israeli, we are so touched by the support that we've received from friends around the world, including President Biden. I have to say his speech gave so many of us strength during a really, really difficult time. And I would like to see every other country around the world join the United States in condemning this horrific activity that's being committed by Hamas against innocent civilians, babies, toddlers, Holocaust survivors, men, women.
Could you tell me what is the situation as far as Israel is concerned, as you prepare, as we're learning, for a ground offensive as well? What is the situation according to you, both on the Israeli side and what you're hearing from the other side of the border as well?
Look, I'm not going to comment too much on the particulars, obviously for many, many reasons. All I can say is our soldiers are ready. They're prepared. They're going to do everything they can to keep Israelis safe and to return security to our country. And at the same time, we will do everything that we can to prevent civilian casualties on the other side.
Sure.
We have been attacked for Hamas for a very, very, very long time. And I think it's extremely sad and extremely disturbing that it took children being burned alive for the world to understand Hamas is not a group of freedom fighters. They are no different than ISIS. And the images that we are seeing from this conflict prove that.
Yet, despite what all of us saw, we've seen a lot of noted personalities, including members of prestigious groups, academia, global personalities, politicians in the US and other countries come out in support of Hamas and question Israel on this. How does that make you feel, first of all? Because we've all seen the images. What is your message to them?
I think they're extremely misguided. I think that anyone who could come out in support of Hamas really has to do some deep digging inside to understand what would allow them to be so cruel towards other human beings. Look, I am a third-generation Holocaust survivor. 4 of my grandparents were survivors of Auschwitz. I never understood how people could deny the Holocaust. And I have to tell you, for so many of us here in Israel, suddenly we understand, because you see the horrific pictures online. You see people questioning the pictures. You see people having debates online as to whether 40 babies were burned alive, whether they were decapitated or whether they were just murdered. And you have to ask yourself, what kind of cruelty does it take within a person to ask those kind of questions? So for all the individuals who are standing, on Hamas's side and who are supporting Hamas, all I have to say is shame on you.
Well, I'll have to leave it on that note, Tamar Schwarzbard. Thanks a lot for speaking to us.